Let's go ahead and officially kick this off. Dale, if you want to go ahead and hit the record button.
Already did.
Great, thank you so much. So my name is Jackie Travieso, and accompanying me today is Dale Ziegler. Jared is off on a client call, so he will not be joining us, but today is October 19th. I cannot believe that we are almost at the end of the year. This MVP Office Hours is a wonderful opportunity for the community to get together and problem solve together. What you are looking at on your screen right now is just some helpful links, hopefully, some all of the events that are sponsored or put together by Salesforce. The customer success event calendar is listed. And then we've got all of the remaining Dreamin' events for the rest of the year. And I can tell you that I've started seeing 2019 events hit the calendar. So go to that bit.ly/sfdreams to check out the events that are either near you or destination Dreamin' events that you'd like to hit. And then something new that I've added to this slide is the community groups. If you are not a member of your local community group, whether they are user groups or developer groups or social groups, check out the Trailblazer community and join those events that are either local to you or virtual. They're a huge, huge benefit. And a great opportunity for you to ask questions, seek resources, hear about other events and opportunities that are coming up as well. And then after you do that, go to the trailblazercommunitygroups.com, find those local groups, and then sign up or create an account for yourself so that you can start receiving the meeting invites when they've got their calendars up and running. And then the last thing I would mention is watch for your global gatherings in your local community groups. They are focused right now on the all of the great information that came out from Dreamforce. So, and probably Winter 19 as well. So thank you, Dale, for advancing that slide. This group meets the first and third Friday of the month. Our next call is November 2nd. If you haven't already bookmarked this bit.ly, MVP OHUS, please do that. After each call, we update it with the next date so that you can register and get that event on your calendar. This is an open Q&A discussion for the next hour. Everybody is welcome to chime in, share experiences, ask questions, give everybody resources. And really, this is an open dialogue. We like to talk about approach, give pointers, talk about the resources and other recommendations. If we need to get into troubleshooting code or any specific step-by-step automation, we might want to go ahead and take that offline or point you to the answers community so you can throw in some screenshots and things like that so that you can get all of that in-depth conversation back and forth that you need to solve your problem. So this call is being recorded. We'll post it to both the community and Twitter. I think everybody is on mute. If not, go ahead and mute yourself just so we don't have any background noise. To ask a question, simply raise your hand in the chat, or if we've got dead air, go ahead and unmute yourself. And then please announce yourself so that we can put names with voices. I think we're getting pretty good at that. And then again, everyone is welcome to share their experiences. Everyone, go ahead and open your chat. You'll find that at the bottom of the window there that you're looking at. If you move your mouse, there'll be a ribbon that pops up. Open the chat so you can add your thoughts, recommendations, post questions, what have you. And then we do have the ability to screen share. So if there's something that you want to share with us, we can go ahead and give you controls. The only thing we like to say is that make sure that you're not sharing something that is proprietary or confidential within your organization, because again, this is being recorded. So if it's something that you don't want out there for the whole world to see, we might ask that you drop into a dev org. All right, with that.
Also, Dale, if you're multitasking and streaming Netflix, we could probably get dinged for that too, since we're recording.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you for that tidbit. If you're not aware, we do have a global presence. So we've got this call, which is US, we've got EMEA, and then we've got Portuguese. And Carlos is on the line representing the Portuguese group. And if you have an opportunity to pop into his call, he does a fantastic job of translating. So don't let language barriers be a concern, because that is definitely not an issue. So I've joined that call, and it's a great opportunity to chat with the people down in Brazil.
Thank you, Jackie. Portugal is probably going to start the next event as well.
Great, great. So we meet the first and third Friday. EMEA, their dates vary. APAC varies. Portuguese last Thursday. And then we do have students who should be gearing back up, and hopefully we'll continue to jump on calls on the last Friday of the month. All right. Well, with that, I think, Dale, unless you've got anything else to add to this kickoff, I think we can probably start taking some questions.
I don't. We have actually already had a question come into the chat while we were doing all the intro stuff from Pat McClellan. If you want to unmute yourself and talk through what you put out there, Pat.
Sure, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm an App Exchange partner. My app is Proton Text. I have got automation that I need to run when when I get a new customer, basically to go behind the scenes and create a sub-account on Twilio and then spit back the license key to the customer. So it needs to happen pretty much when an install happens or when they've signed up. There are two apps that Salesforce makes available, the license management app and the checkout management app. Neither of them have any decent technical documentation. I think they're both about 10 years old. Somebody at Salesforce wrote them, and nobody seems to know much about them. So I'm looking for a partner that's got some technical experience with these. The challenge I have is that they've got a lot of fields, the schema of these, of the custom objects. They're in managed packages. I can look at the schema, but it's very unclear which fields I can depend on having data in. A lot of fields do not get filled by the license management app or by the checkout management app. And so I've been writing this automation assuming that something like a field named customer would actually have something in it, and then it comes up and it's empty. So if there's any partners out there that have had any experience writing with the LMA or the CMA, I'd love to talk with somebody that's got that experience.
Do we have any other partners on the line that have an app exchange package that would follow kind of what Pat's talking about? I am trying to think of anybody that I know of that I can recommend for you to contact. Let me take a note, and then Pat, if I can come up with somebody, I'll do a personal introduction for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Dale, can you think of any of our partners in our networks that we could connect them with?
From the ISV standpoint, I mean, the first one that's always going to come to mind is the TaskRay folks, like Eric Wu and
Ooh, yeah.
Blakely and
yeah, Blakely would be.
Otherwise, no, I know former ISV people, but they're the only ones that feel current at the top of the boiler.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric Wu, his last name is spelled W-U, and he's one of the founders, right, of TaskRay?
Yeah. Also,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Also, early adopter of Twitter, because his Twitter handle is EWU. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I would start, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You got it.
Is he an MVP or just somebody that everybody knows?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Both, yes. Okay, I think I saw a hand up in
From
our...
Jen.
Yeah. Jen, go ahead. I unmuted you.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. And now we can't.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I have for external users. These are not employees of my company, but we need them to be able to create opportunities in our Salesforce org with partner. I have partner licenses, and I don't know if that's the way I should build a community for them, a partner community, and they can log in and they can do it there. And do I directly let them manipulate the opportunity, or do I create a custom object and just build a flow inside that would create it from that custom object into my opportunity?
Do you already have a community?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But for some reason, I have partner community licenses.
Dale, have
So-
you used? Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is Pat. I have a little bit of experience. I built a community to support my product, and I know about this because I wanted to make it so that everybody could access certain records even without logging in. So it's really built around having people log in. If you've got the community licenses for people to log in, then that community license becomes like a profile, and you can go in and set the object permissions and the field level permissions that they can access, and so you can say they could read them. You set it up so that they can read their own records only, for example, or they can read everybody's records. You can set up that they can read them, but they can't write. They can't create them, or they can't edit them, or they can't delete them. So it's like any other permission set for that type of user.
Right. Is it best practice to give them access to opportunity, or do I create another object and then dump it there and then have a flow create the opportunity? Or am I giving myself a headache by doing that?
I haven't had enough experience in this, so somebody with a lot of community experience may tell you different, but my gut feeling just says don't ever create a redundant object. When you've got the ability to control permissions around what they see and what they can do with it, I'd give them access to the real object.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you so much, Pat, for that. And yes, there's something to be said about not creating duplicate objects.
Absolutely.
And duplicate data for multiple reasons. I would just suggest, Jen, that make sure that you map out what your desired process is before you start building in Salesforce. So elements.cloud is a great tool to create that visual, because then that's going to allow you to ask all of the yes, no questions, or what ifs, or oops, I forgot. So
one other quick thing I'll share about access from somebody outside. If you're going to, on your community, have it so that they can file any kind of a support case, make sure that you have enabled outside of community settings. This is just in your regular setup. You have to enable web to case. I was struggling with this one, and at Dreamforce, I actually found some guys that work on community, and took them like 45 minutes to get around to figuring out that was what the thing was. So it's not obvious. It's not in the documentation. You just have to have web to case turned on if you want to create a case in a community.
Ooh, good tip. Okay.
We have a question in the chat from Marcel asking about staffing apps, Bullhorn, Target Recruit, etc. And I can say my company uses Talent Rover. I don't know if that's going to help, but Marcel, if you want to unmute and elaborate on your question. Do I need to unmute you?
Everybody hear me?
There we go.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. So I appreciate everybody and your advice. So I just got off the phone about 2 hours ago with Bullhorn, who actually has acquired Talent Rover, I understand. Bullhorn only sells a minimum. They'll only talk to you if you have a minimum of 50 licenses that you want to purchase. And my company just acquired a staffing company. So we only are in need of about probably minimum of about 10 licenses for that company and make that run inside of Salesforce. So Bullhorn didn't really want to talk to me. They kind of hung up on me, essentially. Not really, but just kind of joking about that. But you said you use Talent Rover?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we could talk offline concerning about that, because is that a different tool versus Bullhorn?
Yeah, yes and no. I'm gonna also.
I don't think they're offering that product anymore, is according to what I kind of got from them.
What, the Bullhorn or the Talent Rover product?
The Talent Rover project. Talent Rover app.
That's probably a good thing because our contract's actually up at the end of the month. We're switching to a homegrown application anyway.
Okay. I did speak to Target Recruit. The staffing company is currently using a tool called Adapt that was purchased by eRecruit, and it is a cloud-based application. So I'm going to be talking with them. So I didn't know if anybody else had any other recommendations on staffing apps that are out there, but that's what I know so far.
And I'm assuming that you have gone to the App Exchange and done various searches.
I did.
Okay.
There's actually a couple more out there. One is called Social Hiring and Applicant Tracking System, and the other one is called Recruiting. So not sure the latter two are going to fit our requirements. So,
well, Marcel, I just privately sent you my email address. If you want to send me a note with some of your thoughts or questions or whatever, go for it, and I'll chunk through it as best as I can. And if I don't know,
well, I appreciate you being a source to go to. I also posted something on our. I got a couple people respond to me on our local Houston user group blog that people have been using several different things. So just want to kind of find out some inside information before we start moving forward. So thank you very much.
And my condolences on the ALCS being over.
Okay, no problem.
All right, who else has a question?
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
With going back to the issue on the web to case, I can't remember who answered that.
That was Pat.
Oh, Pat.
Hey there.
Could you expound on that just a little bit? If you're not really using the web to case issue, but the web to case feature, but you have community users who will be creating a case, is that still in effect, or is that still kind of required?
Yeah, that's what hung me up. So I followed all the instructions on the community to set up. They've got in the community components that you just drag in there that says connect to support or ask a question, whatever. They've got buttons and everything already in there that will bring up case. And when I put that in the community, even though I had set up all the access privileges for the guest user to be able to access that object, it was not showing up. So the case, basically the form that they fill out to submit a case was not showing up, even though for the guest user, I had given them access to do that. And it turned out that we had to go out of the community settings, out of all the admin settings that you've got there, out of the permission sets, everything of that, just go back into regular setup and do a search for web to case. And we just had to turn on enable web to case.
So that's for the whole org. You're not talking about a permission for a profile.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
So it's just universally on for the org. Okay, that's a really excellent tip. I can imagine pounding one's head against the wall for many hours trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, I did that for a long time, and then I went to Dreamforce thinking, okay, I'm going to go find the experts. And so I went into the Trailhead area and found the community guys and basically pulled one aside and I said, let me show you this. Help me fix this right now. And he worked on it for 30 minutes. He looked through all the settings that I'd done, and he was like, yeah, he says, let me try it on one of my own communities. And he tried to set it up, and he couldn't get it to work. And finally, one of his colleagues came to look for him because he was supposed to be in another meeting. And he asked the other colleague, do you know what's wrong here? I can't get this to work. And he's like, yeah, I've seen this before. What was it? And he went on about 20 minutes before he was like, how about web to case? He's like, oh, yeah, that's it. So they flipped the switch and boom, it showed up.
Wow, that's a great story. Actually, I had no idea that was required. So
There you go.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, and Marcel, if you're still on, make sure you look in the chat because Stuart has given us some links to some Salesforce lab apps and some staffing apps. So those should help you as well. And thank you, Stuart, for doing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Stu. And just for everybody, if this is your first office hours call, any link that gets shared that we share up on the screen, we will post in the office hours deck after the call. So if anything piques your interest, we'll have the link out there for you.
Hey, Stu, it's Pat. Stu is one of my favorite people that I met at Dreamforce this year.
Fantastic. All right. Carlos, you had a question, and I think, Dale, you just flipped to it in community. Did you get an answer to that? Yeah. Carlos, did you get what you needed? Oh, it looks like he got what he needed. Okay.
And yes, to agree with Melissa, because Stu is awesome. Stu is beyond awesome. Definitely one of my favorite peoples in this world.
All right. Does anybody else have a question? If you want to just unmute yourself, if you want to drop it in the chat.
This is Stu, since you're talking about me. Hey, I don't have a question, but I just have a comment that you have the community page open right now, and just make a comment from the last call that we had a couple weeks ago. At the end of the call, John Graff had a question that we didn't have enough time to even answer, but we did. There were a few of us at the end of the call that looked at it and said, "Yeah, this is a really weird issue / bug that was happening in reports that we couldn't figure out." And so what we did, what we suggested to John, and I suggest to anyone on here, that if we don't get to your question, or if you have a question that pops up during the week, post it here in the community, in the MVP Office Hours community. So John posted the bug that he had and a link to his issue and some screenshots. And then what Dale did, Dale went above and beyond, and he took that and he then forwarded on to Salesforce product manager and asked them if they've ever seen that before, and what could they do? Could they reproduce that issue? And by the end of the week, someone got back to him, and I saw some of that dialogue, and Salesforce was able to then reproduce the issue with John Graff and Dale's help, and it just kind of shows the power of the community, shows the power of this group, and being able to help each other, and being able to forward that information on. So even if you have a question that doesn't appear in this call, please go ahead and forward that question on to this community group, and people will look at it, and if there is something that's curious that we can't answer, I know we can try and bubble it up to see if someone has an answer to that problem. Don't just sit there and feel like you're stuck or you're on an island. Definitely ask the question. People will look at it.
And that's a great testimony to hashtag problem solving together. So thank you for that, Stu. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun one to chase down. Because did y'all know, since I don't see any hands raised, I don't like dead air. I was a broadcast journalism major, so dead air is not my friend. The issue that John mentioned, because maybe some of you are running into this as well. he had an opportunity, or on a dashboard, he had a graph that was something opportunities like revenue, whatever, by opportunity owner, the out of the box standard user ID, user owner field. And he has a user who has a suffix, senior, John Smith Senior, that if you tried to click on John Smith Senior's name to get into a filtered report, no results would show up, even though the dashboard graph said that there was. If you then click on, the example that John used was himself, just regular John graph, the results would come back because what we're suspecting the issue is it's not querying off of the user ID. It's trying to find something with the name, and it's not appending suffix. So if any of your users have suffixes, go check your user detail records. If anybody has a suffix in there, you very likely will run into this same issue if you're trying to show any reporting by owner or by user. So that's the bug that they're trying to chase down.
Weird that it doesn't use ID.
That's what I said. That is very, very weird. In a couple of former lives ago, when I was just a data analyst in trucking, we had an office in Virginia with two gentlemen, both named Gary Woodson. Same first name, same last name. If this is trying to query on name, that's going to give you problems. Obviously, suffix is going to give you problems. So I'm absolutely shocked that it's not querying on user ID.
Did they give you, when you talked to the powers that be at Salesforce, did they give you any kind of an ETA, or
not yet?
Where can we go to find out when this is resolved, or workarounds or what have you?
So it was filed up through email. There's no support ticket or anything with an SLA on it. Okay. Because John was the one who posed it, they may be corresponding with him one-on-one. I haven't checked in with John in a few days. I need to, but okay. If we haven't heard anything by next week, I'd be very tempted to say, hey guys, remember this thing that isn't working probably for anybody? Maybe we see what's going on with that.
That's huge. I mean, that could impact commissions or various things.
Most definitely.
So I don't know, that's probably not something that they would put on trust.salesforce.com.
No, because trust, you're getting more at like system uptime.
Pod level.
They may say they're going to install a patch, but they're definitely, I don't think they would publish what the details of that patch are. You might see something in release notes.
Okay.
But.
All right. Well, I guess that's good to know at least. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that. And does everybody know that trust.salesforce.com has revamped their site? Dale, do you want to go to that? I don't know when this happened. I stumbled across it when I was looking for something. Just to let everyone know that this is a trusted resource that you have. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So your starting point was different than mine. What did I do?
I usually go to status.salesforce.com, honestly, because that's what actually gives you the uptimes.
That's what it was. It was status.
Yeah.
So on the left-hand side there of his screen, you can choose any of the clouds or various products. And then if you just select, like the Sales Cloud or whatever, or if you know your pod, okay, so that was one. So if you know what your pod is, meaning the alphanumeric precursor, you can go right into that and check your current status, if you've had any historical outages or issues.
No, there was an analytics outage yesterday. Did not know that. But they give you as many details as they can. Here, I'll click back over to the cloud since that was the path you were going down.
And so from here, you can check your regions if you just want to see what's going on in the Americas. So if by chance you happen to be a consultant, or if you've got multiple Salesforce to Salesforce instances across the US, and then the list of the various pods or instances will come up, and then you can drill into those.
Mm-hmm. As well as maintenances. This is where your release schedule is going to be published. So methinks, yep, there we go. February 1st, a lot of people are going to be seeing Spring 19
Cool.
in prod, which means in January, a lot of people's going to be seeing that in sandboxes.
All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so that was something that I had stumbled across that it looked different to me, so I just want to make sure that everyone saw that there's kind of a new interface there. Has everybody started diving into Winter 19?
Yeah, it broke my app.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of clients say that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the Comfy Cozy thing that screwed up. It screwed up some of the CSS that I had in my app, and it turns out that Lightning Components, there's a bug that Lightning Components or managed packages, the Lightning Components don't actually respond when you change the setting from custom, cozy, compact, all those things. It just kind of stays compact. So I had to rewrite some code.
Okay. And that was just you stumbled across it.
Yeah, basically it
Okay.
made my tabs all smaller, and therefore some of the CSS I had in there, I had overlapping elements, visual elements that I had to adjust.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, I think in native apps, it works. I mean, yeah. See, it's responding there to the different comfy, cozy, whatever the settings are. But in my managed package, it just goes to cozy. It makes it as small and tight as possible.
Yes, I'm a fan of this view here. Definitely.
Yeah, because that's what we had in Classic. It made sense. It was intuitive. It wasn't a lot of up down as you're tabbing across. It was a lot more intuitive to a left to right reader.
Yeah.
And tabber as well.
And most of the time you can identify what the data is just based on what the value is.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like that a lot better. Less scrolling.
The other thing I'm excited about that they announced a couple of months ago is I believe it's either spring or summer of 19. Again, safe harbor. They're going to give us night mode. So you can toggle between a white and dark background to save eye strain.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
would be fantastic.
As somebody who is actively wearing a pair of glasses right now because I'm looking at a screen, that is going to be a life changer.
Yep. I like that. Oh, it looks like we've got some liked features in our chat here.
Yeah.
So Melissa liked that the search this list box on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's going to be
Yes.
cool.
Wish I
That's
had more
great.
data in this dev org, but
Oh, that is cool.
yeah. So because some might think I'm a raging narcissist.
I like the one that's in pilots called what is that called?
The what?
Where is this used?
Oh, where is it used?
Yeah.
In
Yes.
list view. Oh, where's it used? Gotcha. Yeah.
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 So if you go into, let's say you want to go, you're thinking about deleting a field,
Yeah.
and you know how you delete it and then it says you get these alerts, sorry, you can't delete it because it's in a workflow and it's in this formula and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can click the where is it used to get a
Before.
list before you get all of the errors, and you can actually plan for.
Yeah. I really like this one.
Where is that?
It should be to the right of.
No, you don't have it. You only have it if it's on a pilot. I have it and I can show you.
Oh.
Carlos, you're special.
No, I'm not. I'm a Brazilian.
Oh.
And guess what? There's not a badge for that.
For Brazilian, where is it used?
There's not a badge. There's not a super badge.
Oh, too funny.
Don't need no stinking badge.
We don't need those thinking badges.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, Joy. I already love Joy to death. Oh, she put in this private. Grayscale the web is a Chrome extension that may be useful. Joy, if you're willing to speak up, is that Lightning friendly? Is it classic? Is it agnostic? What are we looking at here?
Let me see if I can find her in the list, and then oh, she's not logged into the.
I have phone. Huh. Okay. Grayscale the web. Removes all
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I muted my phone, actually.
Gotcha.
Sorry. So this is Joy. Grayscale the web is something that I have a couple of color-sensitive users. And so it's really helped them kind of reduce the different shades of white, if you will, in Lightning. And it's made it a little bit easier to digest for them, because some of the blues and the grays were so close that they couldn't really differentiate between them. I'm trying to see if I can certainly share my screen if that's easier than you installing the extension.
Because I'm not, well, I just installed it, but it's not doing what I expected it to do. So, no, hold on.
Try refresh the tab, maybe?
In Lightning? Refresh? What's that? That's insane. And I do have a funny story about that too, going back to Stu chiming in earlier with reporting a bug.
Joy, you should be able to click the little. There you go.
I think I did. Can you see? This is just one. Oh, that's not it. So Dr. Robotnik is like a test account that I make a mess of things with, but the Grayscale is just like Grayscale the web. And for this tab, or for all sites, and if I just say for this tab, I don't know if you can see how.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it
the
wasn't
primary, like the primary. Well, I don't know what you got going on there.
Joy, what do I ever
But
have going on? Come on, you know that.
I don't know. There's a lot going on everyone's independent machines, right? But it really helped some of my users because some of the color was like so. Like just not even visible. And so when it went to grayscale, they could actually see the differentiations in the grayscale.
Nice.
But if you're also, the eye strain is too much, like some of those blues are really, really popping, and some of them are just really distracting. And so if you need this, it can be really useful. It's not quite night mode, but it is.
It's a very good
helpful.
start.
Is it ironic that the little interface there has got green and blue in it? Shouldn't that be great?
Yeah, right? Yeah. But I mean, it's not necessarily set for like colorblind users or anything. Yeah. So just back it. Did you get it to work?
I did. Yeah. I had to control F5, not just F5.
There you go.
Joy, thank you so much for sharing that. That is awesome. I'm going to share that with our user group too.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, that is super cool. That's huge.
If there's not another question, oh wait, there is a question, Jen, at the bottom.
Jen, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? Or let me, if I can find you in our list, I can do it.
I'm here.
Great, go ahead, Jen.
They talked about that custom metadata being available for Process Builder and Flow. Is that 1.19 or was that Spring 20? I couldn't remember. I'm sorry. I was just waiting for it because I needed it that badly.
I don't think it's available yet, but don't take my word. I'm trying to check here on my org, but I don't think it's available yet.
I do remember they mentioned it in the dev keynote. I think is where they mentioned it, but they didn't show it. So my guess is spring.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what I know from talking to Vladimir was that it was pretty much available in validation rules or formulas, but not on the automation.
Okay. So formula, I know validation rule and formulas, right? It was already there.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was just going to mention something that I built this week that was pretty fun. On my community site for my app, I created an automation library so that I've packaged flows and processes and also details of the platform events in my app and put it on in my community site in unmanaged packages so people can download them and put them in play.
I have a really strange lightning thing that I'd like to show to the group.
Yep. Let me stop sharing here. Hold on. Go for it.
Okay, share screen. Folks see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is very strange. So these are my opportunities. I'm in Lightning, and it's very easy to reproduce. I can really pick any of these opportunities. And if you sort of note what I'm getting here is more or less default view of this opportunity, but not the way that it's been customized for us. And if I hit refresh, just sort of pay attention to how it is now. And then hit refresh, you can see that our actual customized Lightning layout is somewhat different. For example, it's got this open opportunities box up here. And it's very easy to reproduce it in this particular org. So really for any opportunity, if I pull it off the list view, it first comes up in more of a default mode. And then if I hit refresh, it actually shows the customizations that I've made to this layout. Anyone ever seen anything like that?
That's weird.
It is super strange.
Is this Lightning record page set as your default among all, like if you have multiple Lightning record pages, is this your default?
The one that comes up is the default, and the one that comes up after refresh is the custom version.
So is your custom version set as your use this as the default?
No, there's some version set. Ask that one more time, Jackie.
So you can set a record Lightning page as the default, and I'm just wondering if the other one is the default, then something is triggering this one when you refresh it. So obviously, I'm just wondering if there's some field that is then saying, well, if this field equals this value, go and use this page. But it's not, that's not happening on the front end when you first load it. So my question is your custom page set as your actual default Lightning record page?
Custom page set as default.
So from here, let's see if I can walk you through this. Do your Lightning gear. Yep, that one. And then go to edit page, which really takes you to the Lightning record page. And then under activation, click that button. Because this is the right record page that you want, because it's got the open activities at the top. So click your activation button here. And then
it is set as org default.
It is.
Yeah.
So then the only other thing I would do is I would make a video of what you just showed us and submit it as a case.
Okay. That's kind of where I was headed next, but I figured I'd crowdsource it first in case anyone had seen such a thing. It's pretty odd, and I can't reproduce it in other orgs. I have a lot of orgs. I can't reproduce it in other orgs using opportunities that are configured almost very similar ways. So something that I just get to really myself.
Can you get the same behavior for other objects like contact or?
No, I haven't had any trouble with any other objects. It's just opportunity, and it's just kind of on this org, and it has me a bit perplexed.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, that one is strange, especially when you hit refresh and it does its thing. So, yeah, I would make a video and submit a case.
Nice. All right, it's worth a try. You never know.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Looking at our list here, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any additional questions in the chat.
We're all being quiet just to drive Dale crazy.
Yeah.
I worked in radio too.
I have a question about, and so we use our organization to create events and then we publish them to our website. And once a user registers for an event, we have an email that's automated from Salesforce saying, thank you for signing up. Here are the event details. What we're looking to do is create a link allowing them to publish that to their calendar, whether it be Google, iOS, etc. I wasn't sure if anybody had any experience with that or where to even begin to look at how to do that.
First thing I would do is go out to the App Exchange and see if there's something that can be added.
Okay.
I have not seen that. So are you using just the straight up native functionality with emails within Salesforce, or are you using something like Pardot or?
Just the email functionality in Salesforce. Is Pardot able to do it? We're in the middle of implementing that.
I am pretty sure that should be standard functionality or standard option.
All right, I'll have to look into that.
Let me do a quick Google search on my side. Let's see here.
Yeah, it was one of the feedback we got from some of our users. They're like, it's great, I register, and then if I had the option to add it to my calendar, I'd be reminded and not forget about it.
Right. Yeah, that calendar options guy is a must. Let me just open a browser window here. I would love Facebook to add that to their events.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, but then that has you outside of Facebook. That's not what they want.
Let's see here. So add, go back to Salesforce, add calendar options to native emails. See if anything comes up. I'm assuming since nobody else has chimed in, no one else has done this yet. And there's all kinds of things that are listed here. I'd have to read through all of these and see if but nothing pops up immediately at the top. I would check with your Pardot because if you can send, you have fewer limitations when sending emails through Pardot versus using the native out-of-the-box Salesforce emails.
Okay, I'll check with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that you would. I think you can be a lot more strategic using, if you're going to use Pardot or something similar. I think you can be a lot more strategic with getting the information out and then tracking your ROI, because all of that is baked right in. And then features like should be available, adding to the calendar, setting up automatic reminders, after they register and things like that.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
I did a quick Google search on how to add to Google Calendar feature, and came up with an old link on. It's not actually Stack Overflow, not Stack Exchange. I put it in the chat window there. It looks like it's just adding a tag into your text, like a anchor tag.
And that would only work if you're using Google, if your customers are using Google, right? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. But that might be a good starting point to figure out how you could make it work for all of the other calendar options.
Yeah.
Great, thanks so much.
Sure.
Cool. All right. There you go. That was a good question.
Looks like Beth has a question about Elements Cloud.
Oh, great. Thank you, Corey, for seeing that. So Elements Cloud, or Elements.cloud, is, they've got kind of two products. One is a process mapping product that is free and right now. So you can diagram very simply what is your process. And I love using this because it makes me think step by step what actually needs to happen, because I can see the flow of it. And they've got they should have on their website here some videos to walk you through. And as a matter of fact, I will pull out a video. Let me just make a note so that I remember to do it. So I will post a link to a video that they did recently that talks about both the elements mapping. So you create a space. For instance, I'm a consultant, so I create a space for all of my different clients. And within those spaces, I have individual maps. And those maps are my processes where I take my requirements and I actually diagram them out, and then I go back to my client, in your case, probably an internal business unit, and I say, okay, this is what I understood you to say the process was. And then from there, I can start asking logical questions about, but what if this? And in this scenario, and does this always happen here? Is there a step that needs to happen before it? So it's a great tool for using for your conversations. So that's one thing that they have. Like I said, that is free. You can create those maps and you can share them with other users. You just put in their email address and then they can access it. Then there's another piece too that allows you to run an analysis of your Salesforce org, and it will spit out for you in a very logical format. What does your org have? What is connected to what? How many of the fields, the custom fields have you created, or which of the custom fields have you created are actually being used? So it kind of takes a little bit of the idea behind Field Trip, and then it takes behind the idea of what we were talking about earlier with the button called "Where is this used?" so that you can see how things are going to be affected if you need to start making some structural or architectural changes. You can think about what you need to do in order to successfully make those changes, and not all of a sudden on a Friday afternoon delete something and go, oh, whoops, I just broke all of these things that I didn't realize was connected. So it really gives you a holistic view of your entire org without you having to piece it together. It does it for you. And then you can take all of those pieces and parts and then link them back to your maps so that you've got an even better documented view of your org and where things are used. So you had an admin that was working in your org 6 months ago and they created something, but there's no documentation on it. Why did they create it? What was it solving? You know, what is it supposed to do? Who uses it? That kind of a thing. So
that'll all be in the description fields, Jackie.
You'd think. Now here's what's really, really cool about this. So they'll bring the description fields into the Elements Cloud. You can make your changes right there, and it pushes it right back into Salesforce. So you can actually see, instead of like one by one, you can kind of see almost like a table of contents, if you will, and you can see where you have holes, and then right on the fly there, you can update all of them and you can compare them to other fields and then push that back into Salesforce. So as an admin tool, it seems to be like the #1 for me must-have. Does that answer your question, or did I just like go into babble mode?
That's a really great overview, actually. That's actually the shortest overview of Elements Cloud I've seen, and I've had Ian present it to us as well. So I think maybe you should put you on the stage.
I don't know that I could repeat what I just said, but maybe. It truly is. When somebody asks me what's your number one go-to tool that augments or helps Salesforce, it's Elements Cloud, Elements.cloud, definitely. I've watched it evolve since day one. Actually, I met Ian and was introduced to Elements Cloud at Dreamforce a couple of years ago when I was asked to kind of be their microphone runner in their audience. And I found myself neglecting my duties and making notes of all the questions I wanted to ask Ian because I thought this tool was so cool. So anyway, I'm sold on Elements Cloud. So there you go.
You know, one other quick tool, I don't know if most people know about this. Anybody use Lucidchart? It's a sort of a free online charting program. You know, it's freemium. You can you can subscribe to greater features. But
I use it.
In the tools palette on Lucidchart, if you select the tools for entity diagrams, ERD, you can actually import the schema from Salesforce, from a Salesforce org.
Schema Puker.
What's that?
It's Schema Puker. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Schema Puker's on my to-do list to explore.
It's really great, and it will pull in the schema and maintain the connections, and you can choose to import all the fields or just the ones that are related to other objects, and you know, as you drag the objects around, the arrows stay connected, and it's really cool. In fact, I've been getting on at Dreamforce. I made contact with the guy that's in charge of Lightning Flows and the new Lightning Flows that they're going to do, and connecting them with Lucidchart because I want them to be able to import flows into Lucidchart. It drives me crazy that you can't export the diagram from a flow in order to explain it.
That would be amazing. It's actually even on the screen, it's sometimes hard to follow because it truncates in funny ways and things don't look unique. It'd be amazing if you could export those.
I feel like, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I feel like that might have been one of the new things for Elements Cloud as well.
Nice.
So we'd have to double check that. But when I post that video, you guys, it's like 45 minutes, but it gives you all the latest and greatest. The other thing I would say is if that is something that you want and you think that would be a good match for Elements.cloud, all you have to do is make the recommendation. And they have like run with just about anything that people have come up with to round out what people need for documentation.
I use that Schema Puker to Lucidchart many times a week. It's probably saved me 100 hours of labor.
Oh, wow. Schema Puker. That's the second time this week that I've actually heard that. And I thought it was a joke to begin with. It made me laugh.
Yeah, I didn't actually know what it was called. I've used the feature, but I'd never seen it called Schema Puker. That's great.
Well, it started with Mick Wheeler. He's a great fellow from our community, and he invented the tool called Schema Puker, and that's really a means of exporting the Salesforce schema out into a Postgres format. And then because Lucidchart can ingest that Postgres format, that's how it would generate the ERD. And then the Lucidchart people liked it so much that they embedded his feature into their application. And so that's kind of the evolution of it. And you know, it's just a really great asset for the community. It saves so much time over what I used to do, which is basically hand code those ERDs out into something like Visio. And then every time they change, I'd have to maintain a separate document, and it was just way too much work. So putting them to Lucidchart is really great anyway, because you can share them there like a Google Doc as well. So
is this related to, is this a feature that Elements Cloud does, or?
I need to double check. I feel like it was one of the things that they had talked about, but we would just need to double check on that, definitely. And I know that we have just hit our 2 o'clock straight, or whatever time zone you're in. We're at the end of the hour is what I was trying to say. Scott Newton had a question. Scott, do you want to go ahead and ask it quickly? And for those who can stay on, please, you're welcome to stick with us for a couple more minutes. Otherwise, anybody who needs to drop off, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Scott, I'm giving you the floor.
Hi, thank you, Jackie. I have a kind of a Hail Mary question about some duplicate record prevention. We have a list of 25,000 accounts that are mostly automotive dealers, and our salespeople want us to upload a list of 17,000 more. And it's almost guaranteed that we're going to have about 80% of those being duplicates. The problem is the dealers will use the same address for multiple companies, or they will identify the same company at multiple addresses. And I'm trying to figure out a way to screen the new list without inserting a whole ton of duplicates. And it looks like, just as a best guess, we're looking at manually reviewing about 12,000 pairs, matched pairs, and deciding which one to keep. I don't even know what my question is now that I say it out loud. Just help. Is there anything besides an intern that somebody can think of, you know, as far as a good tool to make reviewing all these pairs easier?
I'm a huge fan of the Demand Tools tool set. I think that, you know, from what I've seen, that's really kind of the best tool for doing merges and finding duplicates and getting kind of like those stereo views of things once they're in Salesforce. So if there's any way that you could not put them in Salesforce in the first place, that would be really great too.
Yeah.
Scott, what are you using as your unique identifier?
Well, that's the problem. You know, is it the company name? Is it the street address? Is it the website? Is it a combination of all the above?
Okay. Because these are all industry specific, within that industry, do they have some kind of a directory code or something that is specific to the industry, that they would all just be assigned one unique ID?
Not in the purchase list, no.
Not in, okay.
Well, one technique that you can use is, I think the term of art is something like a composite key. So you imagine you'd sort of take a collection of key elements that together make something unique, and then sort of imagine a new field that's that composite of those elements, and then you might be able to compare those. It's just
like concatenate the addresses
mm-hmm.
and then just match the concatenation.
Right, and then but ultimately you're trying to do probably some fuzzy matches, which is its own special art. And there definitely are some tools out there in kind of the relational database world that can help with fuzzy matching.
Okay.
And Aaron put a note in our chat asking if MuleSoft would work. And I don't know, but that might be something to add to your list to check out.
Okay.
I guess Validity, which is formerly Demand Tools, or known as FKA, I guess that's what she means.
But also beware, because Demand Tools did put a pretty significant price spike on their products, so just buyer beware.
Well, they were pretty expensive to begin with.
Right.
Yeah. Scott, one of the things that I've done is when I concatenate, I'll just take like the first 5 characters or digits from various fields and create my matching key that way, as opposed to taking all of it. I don't know if that's helpful to you. If you're going to, grab a little bit from the first name, a little bit from the last name, a little bit from the address, and a little bit from the email, or, whatever combination you want.
Right.
What about changing What about changing your duplicate rules in Salesforce to match what you're going to be uploading? To if you can find some kind of way to see that they're different. And then, as much as we all hate Excel, what about using Excel for a duplicate match within the list itself? If you have a list of what you have exported from Salesforce plus your new purchase list, something like that.
That's actually what we're doing right now, is trying to work it in Excel with a combination of an export and the new list, and the person's really struggling with it because with so many records, every move she makes, there's significant lag. And
how comfortable with Access are you? If you take that spreadsheet, if it's structured, and then just link it or import it into Access. Access was built to have that engine on it.
It's been a while, but I could probably refresh my memory.
I'm running through that internally right now with about 48,000 contacts. And yeah, trying to run any kind of formula across 48,000 contacts sucks.
We usually do that as well. Staging and Access, especially, for example, had a number of tenants coming in from spreadsheets, and say they run their business on 14 spreadsheets, and it tends to be a lot easier to stage these things in a relational database like Access to get to uniqueness. So I think it's a tried and true method.
Can you use duplicate matching rules on a formula field?
It depends on the order of execution. Has the formula been executed yet for the duplicate rule to even be effective? It's a free duplicate. It's a free functionality for a reason. That means maybe not.
I was just thinking that if you created I'd have to think this through, but I was thinking if you created a formula field on his existing records that essentially creates that, take 5 characters from this field, 5 characters from this field, and then the 5 characters from the third field to create that unique identifier, do the same thing in the Excel and then upload and match on that. I don't know if that would work though.
Okay, well, I think I've got enough different approaches to at least try and give the person dealing with this some hope.
All right. Thank you so much for your questions, Scott.
Very much.
Yes, and thank you everybody for hanging out for the last couple of extra 7 minutes. And as Stu had mentioned, if you've got additional questions, drop them in the chatter group. Or the other thing that you can do as well is put them out on Answer, so you get the entire world's view on their recommendations, and then put a link in it to link to that Answers post within the community to draw more attention to it. With that, thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you on, November 2nd. Have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you then. Take care, everyone.